episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 323, Nate and the Dirt Lifestyle.
Tonight, Aaron gets trussed up, Jeremy finally carries a spare, and Ben puts his winch to use.
Welcome to the Off-Road podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben. I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy, along with our guest, Nate, and welcome to the show.
Hi, folks.
The weekend review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Well, Aaron, what have you been up to?
Well, I got to work on my pole barn finally. Got the trusses up. Here I'm scrolling for the pictures. There we go. So you can see the trusses going up.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to
That was my bad. Sorry.
I was like, I know you like to cut me off, but yeah. I borrowed the bucket truck from work and was able to use that to get the trusses in place. And on this very last one, we actually were able to use the bucket truck to even lift up the truss and put it in place. So that was super nice and convenient. And I only had the bucket truck. I had it all weekend, but it was only going to be nice weather. So I actually even worked into the dark. So here I was working on putting the bolts in, the blocks that support the trusses late at night. So yeah, just making some headway. I didn't get all the purlins in, as you can see, but the 4 trusses are up, so I can start putting the purlins in with a ladder 16 feet in the air. It's going to be lots of fun. Yeah.
How long till you have a functioning shop?
2022.
Well, I mean, that's only like 3 months away. So
that's true. So
the question is it going to be less time than it took me to swap 1-tons into my Jeep?
Probably not, because I think my lumber package was delivered in March. When did we have that big ice storm?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's
March or
probably
April. Yeah. So I don't think I'll get it in the 11-month mark.
So you don't think you'll get it in 5 months from now?
I mean, I want to. The desire's there. I just don't have time. I just started going back to school this week. So that's added onto my plate. Here's the other thing I'm working on. We took 2 trees down in front of our house. So I've got large logs that we're splitting for our wood stove. So someone let me borrow this really cool. It's a homemade log splitter, and it's the bomb. You could that arm on the side, like, just hefts up no matter how big the log is and how wet it is, and the log splitter goes to town on that. So been splitting logs. Beyond that, today I drove the Frontier for the first time in quite a while. The Avalon has a flat tire, and so I drove the Frontier to work, and it is so nice having that V8 power. Oh my goodness. So
More power?
yeah. So Nate, I put the Titan V8 into my Nissan Frontier. It essentially bolts in, almost plug and play. Super awesome. And it gives you almost 100 more torque and about 60 more horsepower. So it's not a ton, but
Noticeable.
It's definitely noticeable. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
And then I've got a custom tune and headers and free flowing exhaust, no cats. And so that adds a little bit more on top of it. So yeah, it feels great.
That's cool.
And it sounds super good. Even if it wasn't fast, it just sounds so awesome. So
if you could put it in the Frontier, could you do the same thing to like an Xterra? Do people bolt that same combo?
all the time. Yeah.
That's
It's a pretty
awesome.
popular swap. Yep. And you could put it in the Pathfinder of the same generation, although the Pathfinder, some of them came with the V8 in it already. So, yeah,
Huh, that sounds awesome.
pretty neat. Ben, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been doing yard work like you have. I was bored the other day. Well, I wasn't bored. I was working on my list, and I didn't want to do one thing, so I did another thing. I had some some rhododendron bushes, and I was like, I have not taken my winch and um, what's it called? Stretched my line. So I was like, you know what? I'll stretch my line, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull all these roadies out too while I'm at it. So I pulled out a bunch of bushes, and then
Did your wife know that you were going to pull them out? Was she on
no,
board?
she,
You just start yanking
she,
bushes
she,
out of the yard.
she knew I was planning on it eventually. So I just kind of went out of control, and I pulled them all up, and giant roots sitting in the yard and all that. She was not excited. She's like, "You better finish what you've started, Mr. ADD." So I got that done, and then I was like, you know what? I pulled out my chainsaw to chop them up and throw them in a pile to burn them. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to trim all these trees that I've been meaning to trim. So I started trimming them. And then some dogs came after my kids from the tweaker house. And I threw my
please tell
chainsaw.
me.
I
Please
threw
tell
my
me you chased
chainsaw
them
at
with
the
the
dog.
chainsaw and cut their legs off.
No, I threw my chainsaw at the dog because I picked up my kid. And I
That's
threw the
the most
chainsaw
Bonnie
at
Lake
him.
story I've ever heard in my life.
Yes.
Yes,
Dogs
it
came
is.
after my kids from the tweaker house, so I threw my chainsaw at them. It's the most
Yep.
Bonnie Lake story that's ever been told.
Yes, it is. So I had to fix my chainsaw afterwards because I messed up the carb or something, and I got the chainsaw fixed. But as it's fixed, my neighbor comes over and he's like, "Hey, do you want to use my chainsaw and my pull saw?" And I was like, "That'd make life so much easier." So I trimmed those up, and he's like, "I've got a chipper for work here parked at the house. Dude just moved in this last week." And is like, "Hey, you can use the chipper. I'll bring it over." I'm like, "Sweet." So we chipped it all up. The yard's all cleaned except for those roots from the roadies, which I have to take to the dump, which is not all that big of a deal. So
Nice.
and outside of that, I was up all night because my son decided that he wanted to Superman punch the floor from the top bunk in his sleep, and he broke his arm. So you see where the arrow's pointed there. That's where the fracture is, and then you see a little dent on the bone next to it, where the bone hit the other bone. So,
Poor kiddo.
yep,
Yeah.
it was a rough night. I got him calmed down. I'm like, maybe it's not broken and it's just sprained, and I got him calmed down, back asleep, and he moved his arm a little bit and woke up like crying, like you could tell he was in pain. So I was like, okay, dude, let's go to the ER. So off to the ER.
And he's frozen.
Yep.
After the year.
So much for that new internet that he got.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Well, what have you been up to, Jeremy?
Well, I've had to go ahead and drive the Jeep into work. So a wheel bearing on my bike went out. So I'm waiting for the parts to come in. So it's been kind of fun dailying the Jeep. I wish I still had my hydro steer working right now. I can't wait to get that fixed.
Yeah.
But I went and got the bolt, a replacement bolt. So it's just I need to just take some time to reinstall the RAM, and then I'll be good to go again. But it's not too bad driving it around without the hydro until you're in a parking lot. Then you can't turn.
You got to slow turn into a parking space.
Pretty much, or go really fast. One of the two. You just gotta
Yes.
gas it and turn at the same time. Other than that, I finally got the spare installed, which it's about time. I haven't been carrying a spare when I've been wheeling, and that's not great. It definitely took up all of the rear window. You can't see a thing out of there anymore, but oh well. With the two young kids in car seats, it's hard to get the spare into the Jeep. So I threw it on the back, and since I don't trailer, it's nice to have a spare.
Is that a shovel? Is that a shovel under the basket?
Yeah, it is a shovel.
Okay. I couldn't totally tell what that was.
I bungeed it there the last time we went camping, and I just haven't taken it off yet. But yeah, it fit perfectly. It looks nice back there, but it's definitely gonna be a problem on some trails of hitting that thing. So it's just barely aired up. I'll be airing it down, and then depending on what trail I'm running, I'll pull it off. But
Just drag it behind you or something.
yeah, that's the concern.
What
It hangs down a little bit, but
what about building like a swing arm for it with a hub, and the end of the swing arm just plugs into your receiver hitch, and then have like some sort of really light duty spring or something, or even an air shock that you could like air up, so you could create like a stiffness. So like if you're driving up something that was really steep, you could use that hanging off the back to keep you from rolling over, like a wheelie bar, like a 40-inch wheelie bar.
well, I mean, it is on a swing out, so technically, if you just threw a hub in there instead of the bolting plate, I guess that would work, but probably not. I don't think I recommend that.
You could just drag it behind you on the trails, and it would just spin as you drove, because it'd just be free rolling. I mean, if you got creative, you could power it with an electric motor.
It's pretty
You
genius.
could, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be unique, that's for sure.
Yes, it would be unique. Yeah. I'll have to
If
talk
nothing
to
else.
Fred at Dirt Every Day, see if he could come up with something like that. I think that'd be up their alley.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just happy to have the spare, and it's kind of fun to have an excuse to drive the Jeep around.
About damn
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
So Nate, what have you been up to?
Well, last week I pulled the engine transfer case out of that one. So next to me is an engine block, and then over there is an engine head. So I'm working. When I was in Moab last year, I did something to the motor. I don't know what I did. It could just be an injector problem, which it kind of seems like now it might be. But I was concerned because I had a runaway scenario on an obstacle that I had made valves and pistons hang out for a couple seconds. And so I was double checking that they weren't getting too chummy. So I've got the whole thing apart. I've got a brand new transmission I've been wanting to put in there anyway. I've got the Tremec 4050 from Silver Sport transmission. And it's it's going to be rated for more power. So anyway, I'm going to put everything back together next week once I get the parts to do it. I'm going to have somebody fix that one injector, because it seems like it's probably an injector issue, and then put nitrous on it. So that was last week. And then
Why not?
I have a nitrous kit, just collecting dust. So
You should have it painted to look like a power tank bottle,
right?
and just have it mounted in it. Yeah, total sleeper.
And then this weekend I went and did section 1 of the WABDR. I'm sure you're locals, you should know. You guys know what that is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did section 1 in my Land Rover, and then which was awesome. It was beautiful. It was a great time. Weather was killer. And then like 2 miles before the end of section 1, right before you hit the highway, I had just 4 neutrals in my Land Rover. I'm like, oh no, what is going on here? And so I think once we got down to the highway, we were able to coast down to the highway and finish the whole thing. And then I put it in park and got underneath, and it was just ATF everywhere. And it's definitely from the cooler. I think that I blew a cooler line off. I just had it apart a couple months ago. And this is the kind of lines where it's like, I don't know if you guys ever done like Chevy fuel filters, where it's like you put a little tool in there and press it, and then you just pop the line apart.
Oh yeah.
This is like that, but the little things are built in. And so I think we were like shaking pretty hard on some of the they're not whoops. What's the short ones? You know what I'm talking about? Washboards. We're on the washboards. Yep. And so my theory right now is that whenever I put it all back together, there was still a little bit of pressure on because it's like got a tool built into the line to undo. And I think that it just popped apart, and they just blew all the freaking ATF all over the place. So my brother drove me home. We grabbed the truck and trailer, and we still camped and everything, but we had to go up and recover recover the freaking Land Rover. So it turned into an expensive overland trailer because we put it on the trailer, we turned around, and we went up like an hour back up the VDR with my rig on the trailer just so we could still camp. It was like, it's still got all the gear in it. It just doesn't work itself. So I'll use my Dodge to pull it up there.
That's funny.
Nice.
So yeah, that was, and then yeah, it's still out there. It's on the trailer. I need to unload it and figure out what I did, but that was my last week.
What year Land Rover?
It's a 2003 Discovery.
Okay.
So yeah, it's on. I just got done building it like a few months ago. It's on 37s, and I put Ford Super Duty axles in it and stuff. You know, Overlander.
Overland, yes.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Sorry,
So
Ben, I
here's
beat
our
you to it.
yeah, the October exclusive. They just sent this email out today. And it is a werewolf with like a Mac 9, I think. Or is that a Tech 9?
Tech 9.
Tech 9 and a machete, a well-used machete. So, yeah, I really hope, I don't know this, I really hope that moon glows in the dark. That would kind of be the cherry on top of that patch. They make some
it
sweet
better.
stuff. It had better, yeah.
They miss out on glow in the dark stuff all the time that should be glow in the dark.
Yeah, although I wonder if it's like a manufacturing thing. Quick crazy side note, today my wife tried to buy some paint for our front door, and they told her that it wouldn't be in until June of next year. So,
oh my gosh.
Wow.
yeah,
Too many people painting their
that's
stuff.
that's 8 to 9 months from now.
Yeah,
So
that's insane.
long ways. Yeah. So what do you got there, Benny?
So I've got I bought, that was, well, green screen does not help that at all. That's the what is this? The secondary patch for last week's exclusive. And then Bigfoot. And then for Jeremy, Bigfoot too. So yeah. And it was not his feet hanging off the back; it was mud shooting out the back. So that was pretty cool. And then the secondary patch for that was Gravedigger with a skeleton on the back. I believe it was, or was it?
I can't remember.
Yeah. So yeah. But I
think there's one more of that series coming out this week.
Yep. So it'll
So,
be
one left.
interesting to see what that is.
Well, we already know it's a DeLorean, so it's a Back to the Future patch. I'm just wondering what the other one is. What do you guys think would be a secondary patch that would go with Back to the Future? That's vehicle related.
Skateboard.
No.
The Fred Flintstone car.
No. What is an iconic vehicle from Back to the Future?
That Toyota.
The Toyota, yeah.
Do you think it's going to be the Toyota?
I don't.
Did your boyfriend tell you it's going to be?
No one has told me anything, so I don't know. Yeah. So that'll be a sweet one to get. I'll probably buy that one.
Right on.
Yeah.
The news is brought to you by Power Tank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Well, our first story here.
I was going to say we've got all Bronco news this week.
Oh, it is Bronco News Week, huh?
Yeah, Jeep didn't do anything cool this week, so we got to talk about Broncos.
Well,
Nor-
is that first story really cool?
We need that GIF that says, "Well, did you die?" for this one, because she didn't die. Spoiler alert. You pulling up the pictures for that one, Ben?
Yep, I've got them up.
All right. Oh, well, there's that picture first. Why don't we save that picture for last?
Okay.
So a couple ladies and a dog went to Colorado and we're doing some sightseeing, and they entered Black Bear Pass from the bottom rather than coming down from the top, which is a no-no because it is a one-way road, and they made it to a no, it's a no-no because there's no room to pass oncoming vehicles, so it's one way for a reason. And I assume that it's easier to go down than it is to go up, so they probably just have everybody go down rather than up. But yeah, they made it like to the third switchback and decided that this isn't a trail for me, and so they tried to turn around at the switchback, and they went over the embankment and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled. The good news is the Bronco Sport has the highest rollover crash rating that you can get. It's got the 5-star crash rating for rollovers, and you can see that roof did keep stuff protected. Unfortunately, the lady who was driving was ejected. There was a dog in there that was ejected, and apparently the engine ejected itself as well. So, yeah, everything came out. It rolled about 400 feet downhill, and the lady was in serious condition. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any updates on her status. The dog was treated on site and was okay. And there was another passenger, but the passenger got up to spot. World's worst spotter, apparently. She won't be spotting for anybody else anymore. So
I'm interested to know whether or not she was wearing her seatbelt, if that's why
Yeah.
she was ejected. I know
I
some
wonder the
people
same thing.
when they're near an edge, they want to take their seatbelt off because
Mhm.
I can get out before it rolls.
Yeah, well, she got
Sometimes.
out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but I mean, if you look at it, I mean, any of the spots that someone would be sitting in that vehicle, they'd be good.
Dude, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That looks
outside
pretty
of being-
impressive.
Outside of
Mhm.
being ejected, which I mean, frankly, I think it was not wearing a seatbelt.
I have
Seatbelts are
I have
designed-
that I have that feeling also, and it didn't say anywhere in the article if she was or wasn't.
but I mean, outside of the seatbelt situation, I mean, you'd be fine.
I think it would be hard to come out of the seatbelt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you're clipped in, I don't know how you get ejected out of it. With as enclosed as that cabin still is. It's got a sweet side exhaust now, though.
Here's my question. Does Ford get a hold of these ladies and give them another one?
I hope not. I mean,
Well, there's that
it's
Toyota
sad
that
accident.
there's that Toyota that they drove out of Northern California that was like all melted, and then Toyota gave them a new truck.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
he was saving people.
Yeah, he
True.
was rescuing
But
people and
these
stuff.
people these aren't exactly what I would call heroes. And then I think I heard a story after the Fukushima thing that they found a Harley that had washed up on shore in Washington, and they used the serial number to figure out that it was from Japan. And I heard
Whoa.
yeah. And so Harley apparently figured out who owned it and sent them a new one because they lost it in the tsunami. So again, that's my question. Does Ford get a hold of these ladies and be like, and then they could use this as what great marketing. Look how good this is in a rollover. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, I could see that, but man,
Not that they
I don't know.
deserve it. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like,
I
if
hate
I'm
to say
Ford's
they're not
PR
deserving.
person, I'm looking at this as an opportunity as Ford's PR person.
Yeah,
it's really incredible. It speaks volumes about that with the way it's built.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I think it would be better for Ford if the lady was in the car and it protected her rather than her being ejected. I think that'd make it a little tougher for them to say, "Look how good it protects people," but there was nobody in there.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true.
so this picture here is of when Coy and I ran Black Bear Pass. We were actually heading up Imogene Pass, and you could see Black Bear Pass in the distance, and you can see the switchbacks in the picture here, and in the circle, the top of the circle is the third switchback, and the bottom of the circle is the first switchback if you're coming from the bottom. And from what I'm hearing on the internet, it sounds like she rolled from that third switchback down to the first one. So
That's the quick way to go.
quite the tumble.
Not a ride I want to go on.
Yeah, what's awesome is how quickly they had the wreck removed. It sounds like this was reported around 7 or something in the morning, 7 or 8 in the morning, and they had the pass back opened up at 10:30 from what they were saying. So I might be a little wrong on my time, but it was a very quick cleanup. But it is the very bottom of the pass, and it is easy to access the bottom. You're just miles outside of Telluride, so yeah, help came quickly, and then a wrecker was there shortly after. So our next story here is the Bronco Raptor has been confirmed by Ford. They are going to use the Raptor name. People were kind of debating on what name they'd be using. We got a short teaser video here,
And it's a short one.
it's got headlights,
Raptor lights.
there's some dirt, and it's called the Raptor. We better play that again because that was so fast.
And then
Bronco.
it said that it's coming in 2022.
Oh, it's got Raptor lights, guys.
Yep, it does have Raptor lights. Yep.
Are they functional though?
Well, they were lit up. I mean, what do you mean by functional?
Do you actually need them? So, like the Ford Raptor, the reason it has the Raptor lights is because it's so wide to keep it legal.
Yes.
People throw them on their Toyotas. I think I've seen them on a Jeep now. The guys with F-150s put them on, and they're not wide.
Frontier guys do it.
Yeah, and there's no function to it. It just looks cool.
It's just
Like
pretty.
Okay.
the Raptors have it because they need it for legality because they're so wide. So it's like, you're cool, I guess. I mean, technically, you're Frontier. I think you might reach to that point where you might need the ambers up front. I don't know what the width is.
I'd have to go even wider. So you got to be really wide because I think the Raptor is like 8 inches wider than an F-150.
Yeah, so
That's interesting because my dually doesn't have any special lights on the front.
but
Are they on the
rear
roof?
fenders?
Are they on the roof?
They're on the roof, yeah. So
Yeah.
you can either put them in the grill or on the roof.
Yeah, they just have to be forward facing, is what I understand.
Got it. Yeah, because I got them on the roof. That makes sense. I never knew that. I just thought they were there to look dope.
They do look dope because they've been there like since the 70s, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they say it's going to be available in 2022 and 2023. So, if you order now, you'll get it by 2025.
Exactly. That's not even a low blow. It's just factual.
It definitely is. Yeah. And there's no other details. They confirmed the name. The article mentioned that Ford said that in the past that they are not putting a V8 in the Bronco, so it's expected that the Raptor Bronco will not get a V8. The F-150 Bronco doesn't get a V8 either, so it'll be a twin turbo V6 something. So it'll either be a 3-liter or a 3.5 liter out of one of their other rigs. So, but all that really matters is that it has lots of horsepower and torque, right?
Totally.
I mean, even if it just had like a 2-cylinder or a 3-cylinder, as long as it's got lots of horsepower and torque. I mean, the sound is really fun. You can't make up for sound. That's true.
They're both going to sound great, though. We're all about the same age. We're Fast and Furious generation. Who doesn't love a turbo whistle? Come on. So if it's a twin
Well-
turbos V6 and you can get those things to start singing, it's going to be howling going down the trail. It's going to be great.
So I've got a twin turbo V6 F-150. I've got the EcoBoost. I say I have. It's my wife's truck.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing inside the truck because they're pumping that through the speakers. It's fake noise.
Oh no, is that real? No way.
Right?
That is real.
Yeah, I have
That's
no
so
idea what
gross.
it sounds like on. Yeah, I have no idea what it sounds like on the outside, but I feel all warm and fuzzy when I hear it on the inside. I'm like, oh, it sounds so good. And in the Facebook groups, people are talking about what exhaust to put on their EcoBoost engines, and everybody that I've seen post those is like, I've not come across one that sounds good. Everybody thinks it sounds good, and then later on they're
Oh,
like,
really?
it really doesn't sound good. There's like no aftermarket exhaust for those that make them sound good. So
So
who
they're probably
knows what you have to do?
they're probably variable vane then, because that's kind of a thing with variable vane turbos. Like the turbo
don't
on my
whistle?
1-ton Cummins is just a good old fashioned turbo that just spools up and down, and there's no vanes or anything. But the turbos that are like in the TDIs, like what I have in my Jeep, it just sounds like blah. Like there's no real
Yeah.
spool sound. And so I'm just it would make a lot of sense if they're using variable geometry turbo or variable vane.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate you do lose that sound. What if you put intake on it? Does it make them sound good that way?
I don't know. It's my wife's truck. She won't let me touch
No.
it. She doesn't
She's
let me
smart.
modify any of her.
She's smart.
Right? Yeah. She won't let me modify any of her vehicles. Yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we've got to start this off with the Fast 5 facts. And you've not been prepped for these, so it makes it even more fun. Answer them best of your ability. New or
All
old
right.
vehicle?
Old.
Summer or winter camping?
Ooh. So boring to say summer. Winter.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Rocks.
Favorite vehicle brand?
I don't have one. I like it all.
Favorite tire?
Right now, it's the BFG KM3.
Oh, Aaron just became your best friend.
I've owned a lot of tires, and I'm going to be doing a review on these once I get them in the snow, because that's the only element I need to test them in. But man, I'm telling you, they're as good as everyone says they are. At least in my opinion.
Which BFGs?
The KM3.
KM3.
Yeah. Out of all so I've owned like every type of swamper. I mean, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I've owned every type of swamper. I've had Maxxis Razors, Pro Comp MT2s, all in the 40-inch size, and they were all great. But like for the actual grippiness of rocks, like these hook up in the rocks almost as good as my my BFG Red Label stickies do. They really are. They're soft. I don't know about longevity, because you think that if it's a softer tire, you're going to lose some longevity. But dude, as far as off-road performance, I really like these KM3s for sure.
Yeah.
So how did you get started into off-roading?
Camping. I grew up as a Boy Scout. This is such a like I don't know, just such a like normal story of how everyone gets into off-roading. You're like into, you grow up either like hunting or fishing or Boy Scouts or whatever. You just start to love the outdoors. And then once you get into high school and you start to like cars and all that, it's like, hey, they make 4-wheel drive versions of these. And then you start looking into 4-wheel drives, and that's exactly what happened to me. I was in high school. I got my grandma gave me her 78 Cutlass Supreme, and we did take that camping. It's got a giant trunk. So, but whenever I was working my senior year, I had 2 jobs. I was working 55 hours a week plus school, and I saved like crazy. So when I graduated, I could buy something that I wanted. And I thought it was going to be a Jeep, but it actually ended up being a 4-wheel drive S10 Blazer. And so that was my first 4x4.
What year?
It was 87 TBI
87, okay.
2.8.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, the back seats folded flat, and so I just bought it so I could go like camping and have a rig that could get there and get back. And then a friend of mine, I graduated in 04. A friend of mine in 05 saw me at Hollywood Video that dates this story quite a bit. And he's like, dude, we're going camping at Evans Creek this weekend. You got to bring that thing up there. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. It's got 4WD. We got this. And so we went up there, and that was my first time wheeling. And I wasn't going to wheel. I was just going to go camp and hang out with everybody. But a couple guys broke down the trail, and I was like, oh, I'll go get them. And so it's my first time using like 4-low and all this. And immediately I was hooked. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. It combined all my favorite stuff. And then after that, I was just obsessed with it and have been ever since. I mean, we're in a shop that exists because of my love for 4x4s, you know, like it just continues to balloon as far as you'll let it.
That's not a green screen shot of somebody else's shop?
Nope. That's mine.
So did you at Evans Creek, did you break a back window out your first time driving there?
No, luckily I was able to I was able to just kind of like go in a way that wasn't as crazy as it could have been. I was so new to off-road and so ignorant to any of it. It's like I didn't have a dad who had cool off-road trucks or any of that stuff. So it's like luckily the guy who told me which way to go like took me down the easy way and back out the easy way.
Oh, nice.
But then it's like all I could think about after that. And then I had an opportunity to trade it for a K5 Blazer, which is what I really wanted. As when I was growing up, my stepdad had a K5 Blazer, and I just thought it was the coolest ever. And so I wheeled that like crazy. But again, the whole time I just wanted a Jeep. And so I traded the K5 Blazer in for that Jeep right there in 2006. It was before before the JKs were out. I mean, this is a long time ago. And that's a 2002. I bought it in 2006, and it was like such a yuppie Jeep, and I just loved it so much. It was a black Jeep Wrangler X, and it had like bling bling wheels on it, and it had like 20,000 miles, and that was the only things that had been done to it. And like immediately, I'm just looking at lift kits and all that, and you guys, you know how it is. But the end of the story is a diesel swap on 40s, so
yeah.
It snowballs fast. And then once, you build one, it's like, well, it sure would be nice to have one that would be better at fill in the blank. And so then you're building overlanders or whatever, I just love it all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, I do too.
Yeah.
And then you're swapping 1-tons into your overlander.
Yeah, exactly. These Land Rover axles just won't do for dirt roads.
No, not for dirt roads. Not for the Discovery back roads.
Yeah.
They're just too tough.
Yeah. I think we saw like 12 Priuses while we were on the BDR section 1. So we saw more Priuses than 4-wheel drives. Like we were joking around the whole weekend about it. Just like the Prius is clearly the superior off-road choice. I mean, it was just like all you saw.
Well, today in I don't know if you follow this Facebook group or not, but it's called PDX Overlanders, and someone was talking about out wheeling and Forest Service roads and stuff, and he pulled off the road to look at a map or something, and a Toyota Camry came blasting past him, or a Corolla or a Camry came blasting past him.
Yeah, nothing makes you feel more overbuilt.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. I'm sure they feel amazing, by the way. Like if they're driving through in their Prius and they see me in a Land Rover on 37s, I'm like, I've got 3 lockers in it and a rooftop tent and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
They probably feel like, yeah, we're going where that guy can go.
So my next question is, what do you drive now? But you've got several rigs. You're talking about your Land Rover that you just threw tranny fluid out of. You're in the middle of doing some engine stuff in your Wrangler. Do you have a daily or you just drive them all?
I've got a couple. I mean, like tomorrow to go to the gym, I might take the Mini Cooper, or I might take my wife's Gladiator, or I might take I've got a 2021 Toyota Tacoma. I've got all kinds of stuff. Or sometimes I just take the tow. I've got a 1-ton. It's a 2006 Dodge Ram Mega Cab dually, and sometimes I'll take that out just to like get the blood going through it, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm all over the place with vehicles, and then we have an RV, but that's pretty much all of them. Oh, and then I guess that J10 truck back there.
Yeah, there's a J10 also. Okay.
Clearly addicted.
Yeah, I love those.
Any places you've you want to go that you haven't gone to yet?
A lot actually. I mean, I did just take a 5-week trip around the country, and I got to wheel in quite a few states, which was fun. But I ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to go to Alaska, and I've never been. And I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma. Alaska seemed like a billion miles away from Oklahoma, but now it's like when I moved to Washington, I'm like, oh man, for sure, I'll make it up there. And I've lived here like 20 years, and still haven't gone. But one day I want to definitely go up and explore and go off road and see
Only
Alaska.
a ferry ride away, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, that's an expensive ferry ride.
Oh, I've looked at it. I have. It was
Especially if
very
you wanna bring a
expensive.
vehicle. Yeah.
Yep. It's easier to drive it.
It's still like a billion miles away, even from here.
Nate still
It
needs to
is.
wheel an AZ. I've wheeled an AZ. Is that a comment from someone who's on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a trail to SEMA. We started out in Arizona. I did that Highway to Hell and like one other one. So I've wheeled in Arizona. Little known fact.
That's our listener, Kim.
Tim Burley.
Kimberly. Yeah.
Timberly.
That's what he's going by now.
Timberly.
So, what's your biggest win on the trail?
Biggest win? Holy cow. The first thing that's gonna come to mind is gonna be something boring, and then later tonight when I'm trying to go to sleep, I'll be like, oh, I should have said that one. How about let's do my biggest loss and biggest win?
Oh, that's my next question.
Same story, actually.
Oh, there we go.
So we're talking about rollovers, right? I was up at Liberty, which is not a difficult series of trails at all, but there's some vertical spots. And I had some poor communication with someone who was spotting me from very far away. And I rolled that Jeep. There's a reason it's tan instead of black. I rolled that Jeep 3.5 times down with my wife and our dog. And as soon as it started to go, my dog was like, boink, just like spit right out of it. And then we rolled all the way down and debeated all 4 tires. One of the rims like wrapped around the axle so much you couldn't even turn it. It was a bad rollover.
Man.
Oh yeah. I was spitting up blood. My wife was bleeding out of her head. It was horrible. But the reason it's a win is because like the amount that I learned after that, I mean, the recovery took a long time. You know, you go through all the steps, you got to pull all the plugs, make sure there's no oil in any of the cylinders so you don't bend a rod and all that other stuff. And then, reflate all your tires and all that. But like the win was just like how important safety, like I was able to learn that lesson without dying. So it's a huge win. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like when you can, to be able to see death but not experience it is like what guys like me need in order to correct certain things that you're doing. And so after that, it was like, all right, the Jeep's getting lower. It's getting like real seats, real like harnesses. Like it just started to take all that stuff so much more seriously. First aid kits, all that. So it was the biggest loss because it was like the worst damage I've done to any vehicle that I've ever broke. But it was a huge win just because of like the lessons that it taught me. So kind of a weird answer, but
you wanted a 5-point harness for the right reasons, not the wrong.
Yeah, because sometimes people put them in there just to be cool, and I put it in there because I learned that I should have had it in there. So I mean, I almost came out. It was crazy when they talk about being ejected from a vehicle. I mean, that seatbelt. The seat was super loose. Like I was like one more turn from the whole seat coming out with me in it, because the way the seatbelt mounts and everything, it's the same bolt for one of the bolts for the seatbelt as it is to bolt the seat into the floor.
Really?
Yeah. And so you could just grab the seat and go chung 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 chung, like it was really close to coming out. And so now the 5-point harness, it's mounted separately to the chassis from the seats. And, again, it's just, there were big lessons that were learned there, because the reality is I love to find all the hard trails. I like to do all the scary stuff. And one day this is probably going to happen again. And hopefully this time I'm going to be much more prepared for it, and we won't be as damaged whenever we make it through it,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Good sense.
Well, we've got to talk about your YouTube channel, because that's really gotten you going lately. So what's the origin of your YouTube channel?
I guess I was a plumber for 15 years. I was a journeyman plumber, and I got in a serious car accident a couple years back. And it like completely changed the way that I looked at what I want to do for the rest of my life and everything else. And so I took my Jeep right after I finished the diesel swap to Moab, and I met a guy named Matt who was on a YouTube channel called Bleepin' Jeep. And he was a full-time YouTuber. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I had friends who had told me, dude, you should do a YouTube channel one day. And because I've always recorded us off-road. I would just take the camera out and just get like a video of one of my buddies like going through mud hole or whatever, And so Matt saw me filming, and he's like, if you figure out how to edit that stuff and you send it to me, I'll pay you for the footage. And I was like, that would be pretty cool. Getting some income from this hobby instead of all money leaving the bank. So I edited a video, which I had never done before. I sent it to Matt with Bleepin' Jeep, and then a week later, it was on Bleepin' Jeep, and I was like, dude, this is cool. And so yeah, for about a year, I was on Bleepin' Jeep, and I didn't know I was gonna like fall in love with making videos and stuff. I'd never made one, and I got to the point where I was like, man, I want to have my own identity, my own brand. YouTube is actually supposed to be like social media. It's actually supposed to be about you, not a group of people. And so that's what I wanted. I wanted to be just a channel about me and what I'm up to and what I'm building, and not like a hodgepodge of people. And it's just what I just wanted to build my own thing. And so that's what I did. I had a talk with Matt. I left Bleepin' Jeep, and then I just started my own channel called Dirt Lifestyle. Because that's like seriously what this is. It's not a Jeep channel. It's not a Toyota channel. It's not any of that. I own all this stuff because I just fell in love with this whole lifestyle. I have the RV, all this stuff, like trailer, tow rig. It's all related to how much I love this lifestyle. So Dirt Lifestyle just felt like the perfect name. So yeah, my wife, she put together a website like the same day that we launched Dirt Lifestyle YouTube channel, and the rest is history. 6 months later, I was able to quit my job and do this full time. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been just making videos and going off road and fabricating in the shop and everything for the last 2.5 years or 2 years or so.
What was the hardest part about making the leap over to doing YouTube full time?
You will not expect this. It was easy, honestly, because the reality is, even though I'm a YouTuber, right? I'm actually an expert in something. I'm a licensed commercial journeyman plumber. So, and I'm still in the union. I pay my dues every month. So it's easy for me to go back to doing what I was doing. So the leap wasn't that hard because as someone who does construction, you jump from job to job a lot, like a whole lot. And so whenever the job's over, you just go back to the union hall and you sign the books, and they dispatch you out to another place. So if YouTube if YouTube just went away, or if my channel went away or whatever, if I couldn't make this work, I would just do the exact same thing. I'd go down to the hall, I'd sign the books, and they'd dispatch me out. So the hardest part was that I had to wait longer than I wanted to start to quit my job, because we were like refinancing our house and it was taking forever. So like the last month and a half, I had just like, it's like I just was so tired of running jobs and doing plumbing. I was just like so ready to be a YouTuber. The hardest part was just not quitting every day. It was like, my wife's like, we have to finish underwriting. We have to finish underwriting. I'm like, I'm going crazy. I want to just be making YouTube videos. And so yeah, we knew we were going to do this full time, like 2 months before I was actually able to do it, because we just had to finish the refi before we could do it. So
Yeah, they don't like to see that you don't have a steady income and
No,
things
they
like
don't.
that.
Yeah,
They're
they don't
like,
want you to see make a big life
"Oh,
change.
you're like on YouTube. Oh, okay, denied."
Yeah. So now, I mean, actually, what's interesting is it's been easy for us to get car loans and all that because we're doing just fine. But it's like you have to be, you know, we can show income. But like if you're in
Yeah.
the middle, if you're about to start a small business, which is what I did, from going from, in a union as a plumber for 15 years of all that history, from that to
Yep.
just like starting a whole new thing that has nothing to do with it is definitely sketchy. They for sure we would have not been able to get a refinance if I would have had a bad enough day at work. We'd have a higher mortgage for sure.
It was right. You were right. There was a tipping point, it sounds
There,
like.
yes.
Yeah. Well, now that you've been doing it, is there anything that has surprised you about doing it full time?
The ups and downs, it's not all ups. It's you're as a YouTube channel, you're always growing and whatnot. But we're just such a young YouTube channel. I was just ignorant to how everything worked, to be honest with you. I was just like determined to make it work. And I have a supportive wife, and she's full-time stay-at-home mom, but she helps me with the business side of all this. But what I didn't expect was like, the summer months are much leaner, and then the winter months are awesome because they actually YouTube charges like Lexus and whoever, these different companies that advertise, more money when it starts to get closer to Christmas, and then they charge them less money in the summertime.
I see.
Especially because I'm an outdoor channel, the summertime, I mean, every week half of my audience is out doing stuff. So your numbers are just lower if you're an off-road channel. If I was a chick doing makeup, it would probably be the same all year round. But as someone who does off-road stuff, there's way more people inside dreaming of off-road in the winter and way more people outside doing off-road in the summer. So those are things that I didn't plan for. It's just stuff that you don't know. And still, I mean, now I'm still learning stuff because we've only had the channel for, like I said, just a little over 2 years or so. But that's probably the biggest thing I didn't expect, was that there was going to be ups and downs.
So you need a second channel for the summertime where you do some sort of winter sport that you talk about.
Right. Yeah.
I was going to say, please do the makeup tutorials. I would probably subscribe to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use a lot of makeup, Jeremy.
The funny thing though is, like, for here in the Pacific Northwest, it's like wintertime comes around and that's snow wheeling.
Totally. I feel the exact same way. But I think a lot less people, thank God, a lot less people do snow wheeling.
Yes.
Because if it was as busy as it is in the summer out off-road, it would be a nightmare, because we've all been up there and there's that stock F-150 with like highway radials that's just clogging up. They're just a trail plug, man. And it's like, could you imagine there being more of those guys?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember up in Greenwater when there was it like 12 brodozers stuck up there? I want to say it was about 2 years ago, maybe 3. It was terrible. They blocked up the road. They had to bring up a tow truck. It was fun.
Oh,
that was
awesome.
pre-COVID, right?
Yeah,
pre-COVID. I think I remember that. Yeah,
in the before
time. Yeah.
Yep. So you briefly told us about your TJ build. What's been kind of the progression of the build? Because I heard a diesel swap in there.
Yeah, I mean, it started out as just a stock 2002 TJ, and then the first thing I did was this would have been it was 06, so I mean it was almost right away. I did a 4-inch lift. Back in those days, people are so spoiled, by the way, with Jeep lift kits now. There was basically like 3 companies that made lift kits. Like there was not a lot of options. So I got a Pro Comp 4-inch lift. I got a set of 33-inch. What were they? They were like Les Schwab brand tires. It was like Open Countries, or I don't remember what they were, but it was some sort of like, it was kind of in between an all terrain and a mud terrain. And I thought it was the coolest Jeep ever. And in those days, 33s were big. Like that was no joke. That was like what a 37 is now. Like a 37 is like, oh, okay, they go off road. A 33 in those days was like, oh yeah, this guy takes it serious. A 35 was like just ridiculous. I mean, why would you ever need? Yeah, totally. So it started with that, and I didn't really like the way the suspension performed and all that. And so, I wanted 35s. I did 35s with the short arm at first, but the whole time I was like, there's got to be a better way. And there's only 2 companies that made long arm kits. It was like Ninth something engineering, and then like I think it was just Rubicon Express. Like, and either way, it was just radius arms. So so what I did is I did a bunch of research on how to build suspension, and I saw that the only other 2 kits that were out there were radius arm kits. So my first suspension that I built for the Jeep was radius arms, and so I was on 35s and radius arms, and then I went to 36 super swampers. And there's a bunch of other tires in between there. But then after that, it was like I need to do an axle swap. And so I did Dana 44 high pinion front from a 76 F-150, Ford 9-inch rear. And then fun fact, when we rolled over, actually I bent the Ford 9-inch. So but yeah, so anyway, from there I had it on 36s, and I had it tall because, again, in those days, everything was kind of like way taller than it needed to be. This like low center of gravity build thing is like, it's a newer phenomenon. And plus, because the higher you are, the more you stay away from the rocks and whatnot. So even though it was on 36s, it still actually did really good on rocks. But then I went to a 39, and then we rolled over, and then I built a Ford 9-inch from scratch because I bent that housing. I didn't want to bend another one. So I just literally bought tube and plate, and I like built a whole housing and just put all the Ford 9-inch stuff in it. And that's what's in it now. It's got the Dana 44 high pinion front, Ford 9-inch rear. I redid the suspension when I stretched it, so it's got a 3-link front, a semi-triangulated rear, a 4-speed Atlas. Because if you're doing rock crawling in a manual, like, you need low gears. So 538 gears in the axles, 544-1 in the transfer case. And then it still has the stock TJ tranny. That's the only piece of drivetrain left from the original until right now. So the old transmission sitting on the floor, but the new transmission is also sitting next to it. It's about to go in it. So, and then about 4 years ago is when I did the diesel swap. This entire time I wanted a diesel, though. I've always liked diesels. I was commuting to work in Volkswagen diesels for years, many different iterations. And so when I had the opportunity, I bought a wrecked 2006 Volkswagen Jetta TDI at auction from Copart. Went down to Portland, picked it up, and the rest is history. It was super cheap. It was like, I won it for like $300, and then after all the fees and everything, it was a little less than 600. And so I brought it home. I literally just took a Sawzall and just cut the whole like front fenders, everything, and just pulled the whole engine, everything. It's so nice working on cars you don't care about because they're wrecked. And then I parted out all the stuff that was still good and made my money back on the engine, and then just started figuring out how to adapt it all and bolted it all in there.
What type of adapters did you use?
So the TDI swap is a lot less popular 4 years ago. So I used this company called Cody Built out of Canada. Their quality is excellent, but they're as a company, they're horrible to work with. So I would not recommend them. There's a lot of other options out now that I would do. And I will. I'm actually building a high horsepower TDI for the blue truck behind me. It's going to make like 400 or 500 horse. And I'm using a different, it's going to be wild. It's going to be also nitrous compound turbo. I have pistons in here that'll drop at 16.5 to 1, which is super low for a diesel, but it's the only way it's going to live with 55 pounds of boost. So, it's going to be a crazy it's going to be a crazy build.
So why nitrous? I'm not really into diesel tuning and stuff, but like, you see the shows where people do propane and stuff. I assume that propane was more popular than nitrous. I don't know.
It was. It's not anymore. Now
Okay.
nitrous is much more popular for going fast. And propane has its benefits. And propane, it seems like people still do. I mean, you see it a lot more. I feel like you see it a lot more in IDI diesels, like the older stuff. But I don't know. You could really go back and forth on it. But everyone who makes power now out of a modern direct injected diesel is doing it with nitrous. If you see anyone at any of those like big truck, like diesel competitions where they're doing all the crazy stuff with 2,000 horsepower and stuff, that's always nitrous. And nitrous is actually super easy on diesels. And for me, it's only going to be a 45 shot. It's not going to be crazy. So it'll just be, what I don't want is I don't want to put a bigger turbo in it, because the turbo that's in it now spools super low. It's great for off-road. But if I'm in the dunes and I'm wanting to like go, it's nice that when that turbo starts to run out of air at like 3,000 RPM, I can just push the go baby go button and I've got air back in there, because that's basically what nitrous is it's liquid air.
Yep.
So the plan right now is a 45 shot, but I have the jets to go all the way up to a 150. I don't see myself going that crazy with it. It'll probably be like 45 or maybe most like a 75 or something like that. So, and plus, I mean, just to be completely honest, the reality is of YouTube, or if you want to be an Instagram person or any of that stuff, you got to do interesting things if you want people to be interested in what you do. And my job is a public persona now. So a great way to get people to be interested in your stuff is to have a nitrous tank hang out of the back of your Jeep.
I like it.
You know what I'm saying?
So speaking about interesting things that you've built, tell us about the cooler behind you.
Oh, the mini cooler. All right. So the Gambler 500, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. It's a Pacific Northwest staple. I've always wanted to build something for the Gambler 500. And this year I decided, amongst all the other things I got going on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a Gambler car. Like a month before, I was just like, we can do it. And so I posted a video. I was like, I want to buy your car. Tell me what you got. You know, it's got to be cheap enough for me to afford it. Like, I'm not going to buy a $10,000 car and just destroy it. So a guy hit me up who was in Las Vegas, and he had a supercharged Mini Cooper. And he's like, dude, I'll sell it to you for $1,000. I'm like, deal. I don't know. Mini Coopers have never like spoke to me, but as soon as he said supercharged anything, I'm like, this is going to be so fun. He had done a bunch of mods to it. It's got a 17% pulley on the supercharger. It's got a camshaft. It's got, you know, injectors, all this different stuff, and it rips. So when it showed up and I started driving around, I was like, this is just so fun. I can't wait. So I built a roof rack for it. I built a front bumper for it. I lifted it and put it on a bigger tire. I really had to cut deep into the body to fit the Mini Coopers are not made to be lifted and put bigger tires on. So there was it was like, it took me like 3 videos or so. And now it's just like the funnest car I've ever owned. It was supposed to be, I buy it, I build it, I use it at the Gambler, and then I sell it because I already have so many vehicles. But once we took it out in the dunes and I was just ripping through the dunes in that Mini Cooper, I was like, I've always wanted a dune vehicle, and it's just too fun to get rid of. So I'm probably still going to sell it, but every once in a while, I'm like, I'm going to take this to the gym today, and I just rip on the way to the gym, and it's just so fun. It's just a fun little go-kart.
It's so awesome.
Backcountry discovery route with it.
You could totally do the backcountry discovery route with it.
and I bet you just get all the looks and everything too.
More than anything I've ever owned. And I've owned a lot of cool stuff. And I'm telling you, people honk their horn at you and give you thumbs up. Like, we've all been to the junkyard. You're like every other guy who comes in there. Every time I've taken this to a junkyard to look for something, people are like, dude, is that your Mini Cooper out there? You know, it's just crazy, the amount of attention I've gotten in it. So, awesome. I mean, I want to sell it because I have too many cars, but on the other side, it's like, it's almost dumb to. It gets so much attention. It's like, what better way to like show off your business than to drive around a vehicle that people are constantly like honking their horn and giving you a thumbs up.
Yeah, it definitely gets attention.
Yeah.
Not to toot our own horn, but Ben and I built a 98
Beetle, right?
Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, I remember.
And we had a lot of fun with that car. It was, yeah, the same thing. I mean, just people all over just stopped and loved to say something about it.
Yeah,
I wish I would have done
I
wish I would have done a stinger bumper on ours though. Our bumper looked really similar to that. Just I wish we had the stinger part. I think that would have set it off.
I almost didn't do the stinger, but I was like, the whole point is outrageous. It's got to be outrageous. And so that's why I went to the stinger.
Yep. Yeah, that is so cool.
The tire carrier in the back with the trasheroo was another one of those things that set it off.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So you said it's a great dune car. Did anything happen in the dunes? I've had some experience with dunes myself that things haven't gone as planned.
Certainly. I destroyed it. It was horrible. So a company, as YouTubers, we have lots of companies that want to send us free stuff, and which is very cool. But 99 out of 100 emails that I get are from like weird Chinese manufacturers you've never heard of. And so this is one of those situations. Like, I don't want to talk trash on anybody. I'm glad they sent me a free set of coilovers, but these max speeding rod coilovers, they did not last. And so I took it to the dunes and they just fell apart essentially. Whole front wheel just like stuffed under, because it broke the coilover in half. But it's what you should expect when a set of 4 coilovers cost like $300. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I can't blame them on that one. And they made it to like lower your Mini Cooper so you can go stunt at the mall. Like, it's not so you can go to the Christmas sand dunes and just like try to coast over shit. So yeah, is super fun. I'm in talks with a company about putting a real set of coilovers on it that are going to be durable and going back out and just ripping through some sand, because it was so fun. And that supercharger just whines so loud. It was incredible. But again, the responsible part of me is like, you got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of it. You got to build your Tacoma. You got to build your wife's Gladiator. You got to build all this other stuff. So,
but it's just a set of coilovers. It's just a set of coilovers.
It's always so just a set of coilovers.
It's easy.
Just a set of something. Yeah. Just one thing. Yeah. One more thing. So you've mentioned some of these other builds. So what builds are in your stable?
Well, we'll just start with the newest, was my wife's Gladiator. It's a 2021 Gladiator diesel. The one before that I bought was the Mini Cooper. The one before that I bought was the 2021 Tacoma. And then before that would have been, I guess, the J10 probably. And then my tow truck. I've got the 1-ton tow truck. The J10, that's the 82 J10. I swapped a 5-cylinder Mercedes diesel into it that I'm not happy with. So that's why it's going to get that high horsepower TDI. And then, of course, we've got this Jeep over here. What else do I have? I've got a 36-foot diesel pusher, so I can haul these rigs around the country and have fun. And then I think that's it. I don't think I forgot any. Yeah, that's it.
What type of video is the most requested type that you get? Is it the build stuff or is it the wheeling stuff?
Man, I don't know. Like right now, I did wheeling all summer, and people are begging for builds, and which I want to do builds too. But then in the middle of the winter, I've just been doing nothing but fabrication and stuff. People are like, you need to get back outside. So now I'm at a point where I have enough projects and enough things are getting completed where I should be able to do both, and that's what I really want. Because I just want a healthy mix.
Gotcha. Do you have one video that's just kind of outperformed everything else that is just killing it?
Yeah, I've got one with over 1 million. It's like I don't know. It's probably 1.2 million or something. It was one that I did on a whim. It was when I was still working too. Like, it's an old video. But it's like, I was curious about those, like, it's like an alumiloy rod that you can basically, like, it's not welding, it's brazing. But you can like braze aluminum pieces together, and you don't have to use a TIG welder or anything. You just break out a propane torch, heat up the aluminum, and you're able to like build stuff, which is cool. So I bought some off of Amazon, and I did a video on it. I threw it together really quick in a weekend, and I wish now, knowing how popular it was, that I would have spent like a whole bunch of time on it and made it awesome. But that video just exploded right away. It has made me so much money. It's just insane. The amount of people who bought alumiloy rods like through my Amazon affiliate links, like people still buying them. It's just crazy. So that one's been a good one. It's that's definitely the biggest. There's other ones that are getting close to 1 million, but that's definitely the biggest one for sure.
That's awesome that you're able to also not only monetize the video, but have the affiliate link for that product that you were highlighting. That's good thinking.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's the secret to surviving on YouTube. We don't make a lot of money on YouTube. You know, a lot is obviously in the eye of the beholder, right?
Sure.
It's not enough to like sustain a family for sure, unless you're like just absolutely killing it. So, you've got to do, you do affiliate links through other companies, and you do affiliate links through Amazon and all that. And those are other ways that you can like help supplement some of the money you're not getting from YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's just if you want to be an influencer whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever. It's you got to diversify your income and have multiple income streams. And so that's just how you got to do it.
Any videos you thought would do really well, but kind of just flopped or were average?
Yeah, absolutely. Every week. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did one that was a video walk around of my friend Jeepster McJeepface's. He's got it's a what year is it? It's like a 60s or 70s Jeepster that he has on 42s. The thing is incredible. And it was one of my favorite videos I've ever done. And it was just immediately such a huge flop. And other ones that are flops, sometimes I'll delete them off YouTube because it's like, this is not doing anyone any good. And you know, it will make, if you put enough crappy performing videos on your channel, the algorithm will start to suggest new stuff less. So it's important. It's important to trim the fat, but this is fat that I will never trim. I loved the video so much and I had such a fun time doing it. And I thought it was just it was a challenge for me as like a storyteller and a photographer and everything else. And it's one that I just loved so much, but no one cared but me. It's just one of those. I was like, this is self-indulgence for sure, but I just have to leave it up.
Jeepsters are awesome. And
I think so too.
Yeah, 42s, that's even better.
Yeah, it's the real deal. The Hemi swap, the thing is incredible. It's such a beautiful build, and I find it so interesting. And I think Marvin, who's a friend of mine, is so interesting. And but again, it's just you never know what people are going to click on, you know.
Yep.
You mentioned a little bit about your trip earlier, your 5-week cross-country trip. What were some of the highlights from that?
I did some Patreon rides along the way, and those are all huge highlights. Being able to meet people in different parts of the country. We did one in Montana, and so I took just some different fans that are on Patreon, and we went out and went wheeling together. We went on dirt roads and camped and had fun in Montana, and that was just a beautiful experience. And then whenever we were on our way back from Virginia, we did it again in North Carolina. And again, it was just this, there's just so many great people that watch you. You know, from my perspective, like I've just come to this same big room every day and I talk into like a black hole, which is my camera, and you never know who's on the other side of that black hole. And so when these people watch your videos and they start to feel like they know you and they just can't wait to come meet you. It's like I did the Patreon ride in Montana, and there's a guy who came from LA, you know, like people are just so pumped to just come out and meet you. And it was just a really humbling experience to meet that such great people care that I'm bolting stuff together in here, you know? And then when we were in Virginia, we got to see my grandparents, and they were on my mom's side, and they were a big part of me growing up. They moved to Oklahoma just so they could help raise my brother and I, and then they moved back to Virginia when we got older. And so for them to be able to like play with my kids and us hang out with them for a week and a half, that was like, I mean, we just had the best time in Virginia. It was great. It was amazing. And then to have my wife tell me, she's like, I feel like we could do this for longer. And, you know, I know, that's what I'm saying. I was like, yes, because we set ourselves up to where it's like, you know, we got this big RV with self-contained. Our kids are young. They're only 2 and 4, but it's like you start to kind of get into a rhythm of how to travel together. And I mean, we were together. We were closer as a family after that. It was amazing. So there was a lot of things that I really, and we grew as a family from that trip. There's no doubt about it in many ways. It was beautiful.
Cool. Well, can you tell people how to find you, where you're at, what kind of social medias you do, and where to buy your stuff?
Yeah. So, if you just type in Dirt Lifestyle on any search engine, I'm the only one that comes up. So you can search on YouTube, you can search on Google, whatever, and that's a way to find me. If you're on Instagram, that's kind of the bigger social media one that I use, aside from YouTube, of course. And so you could just look up Dirt Lifestyle Nate, or if you just started to type in Dirt Lifestyle, I assume it would probably autofill. There's not a lot of other ones out there. And then you can go to the website if you want to like support the channel. We've got merch and a link to our Patreon and all that. So if you want to come wheeling with me, that's where I do it, is on Patreon.
Nice.
It's easier that way, believe it or not. I did have it open to the public and it got complicated. But Patreon is a great way to do it.
Nice. I can believe that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. And we also want to thank all of our listeners who follow us weekly and are checking us out live. Thanks for watching us and sharing your comments and even throwing some comments towards Nate on the show. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends to help us grow. And as always, God bless America.
Thanks, guys.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening